I'm the de facto leader of a movement, screaming hack the planet back in 99. Activism in its prime, global hell had the dot mill rooted. Alphabet soup in they troops in the suits, kid kicking down doors and seizing my equipment, blocking on my shipments, sitting on they hit list. Whole day radical, lymphatic beat addict in the stab hit. I envelope the game, call me Rabbit. Hop to hop, I run the internet equivocally. Bitch, I bait, hit him with the bite style symmetry. Digital gangsta reppin' till I'm dead. Steady grip Apache logs when I'm looking for the feds. Fast forward, now the internet anonymous, and captains of the lows both raise the mass prominent. Dominant hacks, and I sec on that new. Dropping tables in my sequel like it was some poo-poo.
Pound and me sick.
Pounding through your speakers.
Pound and me sick.
Pounded to the bleachers.
Pound and me sick.
If you're sitting below deck in the lows boat, salute bitch and show some respect.
Pound and me sick.
Pounding through your speakers.
Pound and me sick.
Pounded to the bleachers.
Pound and me sick.
If you're sitting below deck in the lows boat, salute bitch and show some respect. Low sec bitch, they folk you hack Sony. Got the MD5, we rock your macaroni. Cook coke crack nimble like a noodle, or HB Gary stay toast like a strudel. Root shell on your bootstrap, now who's that? Bind the M join and drop your whole C-class. Yeah, C-class, it is evident we flousing. Iron cannon in the proc list, deep dousing. Lean back, bitch, we be sending an injection. Magic quotes off, join table intersection. Put it up on pace, being it won't get erased then. 20 million hits till you're down like some cavemen. That's CNN. You want the interview? Send a priv message to the nickname Sabu on IRC. Man, we convening in some 99. Both back shit down, screaming.
Pound and me sick.
Pounding through your speakers.
Pound and me sick.
Pounded to the bleachers.
Pound and me sick.
If you're sitting below deck in the lows boat, salute bitch and show some respect.
Pound and me sick.
Pounding through your speakers.
Pound and me sick.
Pounded to the bleachers.
Pound and me sick.
If you're sitting below deck in the lows boat, salute bitch and show some respect.
These computers give us instant access to the state of the world, troop movements, Soviet missile tests, shifting weather patterns. It all flows into this room and then into what we call the Whopper computer. Whopper, what is that? The War Operation Plan Response. This is Mr. Richter. Paul, would you like to tell these gentlemen about the Whopper?
Well, the Whopper spends all its time thinking about World War III. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, plays an endless series of war games.
I have got to give me one of these!
War games. This is Y2K, man, challenging the law games. War games. ICBMs with the distance of more range. War games. Nuclear submarines, fighter jet warplanes. War games. Search warrant issue, kicking down door frames. Again from the start, when computers had tubes. I don't mean the internet's the real vacuums. With diodes and relays to shoot for the moon. Just one system filled the whole room. Advanced back then to write plenty tracks. I toppled Colossus, sacked ENIAC. Back in the 50s, before they had help, my AI deceived even Turing himself. We had a conversation that made his brain numb. Where did you think the Turing test came from? NP complete? That's my problem. Natural language is trivial. Process, roll through the years to outthink humans. Frustrated Davis, Stomp Von Neumann. Updated circuitry, improved design. Like most things in life, I got better with time.
And we are on the third stream in a row. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my live stream. If you don't know who I am, my name is Tyler. I'm a pen tester by day. I make some videos at night about hacking, and I am currently working on creating a course called Intro to AWS Pen Testing. This course will be available on Monday, May 12th for only $20, and it will give you lifetime access to the course. But right now, everything that I'm showing you is free. You are the live studio audience, and you get to see kind of a behind the scenes of what goes into making one of these courses. Now, I've done a lot of the boring work, but the most important work ahead of time, spending countless hours structuring the curriculum, getting labs ready to go, getting all my notes ready to go for teaching, but I'm showing you everything else. I'm showing you what it looks like to hit record, to re-record things I didn't like the way it sounded the first time, and giving you kind of full access to behind the scenes as I work on this course. So super excited to have you taking the time to hang out with me. Let me look at chat. We have Zero Cool checking in, always getting first blood in chat. Somehow, some way, someone has to beat him sometime, but I don't think you're going to be able to. We have 444C, what is up? We got Bolt, good to have you here. We got Murder94 from Discord. We got Muhammad over on LinkedIn. We got Lou Dogs. We got Inebriated. We got Your Cloud Pros. We have The Operator. We have Axerin, Mark, and Cyber Nerd Dante. And it looks like a bunch of other people who just haven't said anything in chat. So, hey, say hi in chat. Let me know where you're joining from. We'd love to hear from you. Do want to let you guys know that I am live right now on 3 different platforms. You can join on whichever platform works best for you. But I am live right now on YouTube, Twitch, and LinkedIn. On YouTube and LinkedIn, I just stream under my name, Tyler Ramsbey. And over on Twitch, I stream under the name hack_smarter. So YouTube and LinkedIn is Tyler Ramsbey. Twitch, it is hack_smarter. But super excited to have you taking the time to hang out with me. Before we dive into the other stuff, do need to give some special shout outs to those of you who support me on Ko-Fi. And hey, if you don't support me on Ko-Fi, let me drop a link so you can. Ko-Fi is just my membership page that you can support all of this content that I am continually giving away and making for the community. And each time I jump on stream, I want to give a shout out to any new supporters. So looking over at this, I have one brand new supporter on the Hack Smarter support plan, which is $50 a month or up. You are amazing, but that is Jeffrey, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, so I apologize for not knowing how to say your name, but do want to say a big thank you for you joining the Hack Smarter support plan. You are amazing, and it's through people like you that allow me to make a course like this, first being incredibly affordable at $20 a month, but the other cool thing about my course, for those of you who might be new, is although it will have a price of $20, I have unlimited scholarships for those who aren't able to pay that price. So when the course drops on Monday, May 12th, there'll be real quick in the description how you can get a scholarship. Basically, you shoot me an email and I will send you back a code that will give you the course 100% free, no questions asked, because I want to make sure the course is available to anyone and everyone, regardless of your ability to pay for it. I recognize that people in the United States or in the Western world, you might be able to pay for it depending on your job situation, but I know there's people who watch this stream from other countries that $20 US for you really is a lot of money, and I don't want to put up any type of paywall to prevent you from learning. So when the course releases, there'll be the information there. Shoot me an email. I'll send you back that coupon code, no questions asked, to make sure anyone and everyone is able to go through this course and that money is not a factor stopping you from going through it. All right, let me check out chat, make sure I'm not missing anything as I was doing all my talking. We got people checking in. We got Daryl Barkhouse, good to have you here. We got Selfie Sticks. We got John Doe, what is up? We got Sank Logic. We have Crypto Cyborg Hacker. Dude, your name, every time I see it, it takes me like a full minute to remember how to say it. You're third night back on, but man, it's good to have you back. Thank you. Yes, it is good to be back, and I will, I don't know how many days in a row I'm going to be doing this. I'm doing it until this course is done. I kind of mapped it out on my calendar, and I think I'll be live every single night till Sunday or Monday. So I'll be here, same place, same time. Today, I'm a little bit earlier. My kids were tired. My daughter just got done with softball, and both my daughter and son were tired, so they wanted to go to bed. I was like, all right, peace. I put them to bed real quick. I'm on like 30 minutes early. My goal is that hopefully I can finish up a little bit early tonight, because the one thing I have been neglecting to do with all these streams is exercising. I love to box, and I love to, I don't love exercising, but I love boxing, which is good exercise. And I usually box like almost every night, and I haven't boxed now for, well, 3 nights in a row. And I also don't think I boxed the night before that because I was preparing stuff for the course. And so I haven't been able to do any exercise for like 4 days because I work full time. So I work during the day. I get off work, I hang out with my kids, went to softball with my kids, got home, put them to bed, and like this is my only time that's to myself, but I'm making content. And then I'm usually working on this. I'll stream for about 2 hours the other nights, and I spend another 2 or 3 hours each night working on the course offline. So yeah, I haven't been able to exercise much. So I'm starting a little bit earlier tonight. Hopefully we can finish a little bit early and I can get some boxing in before going to bed. But well, happy to do some Q&A as well. I smell a weird smell. I think it's coming through my window. Like someone's doing their laundry or something. I don't know what that is. All right, I'll be right back, guys. Let me figure this out. I don't know, guys. Just like a weird, strong soap type smell. Not bad smell, but just an odd smell. Anyways, back to chat. Moz said, can you give us your thoughts on the seemingly endless creators selling cybersecurity snake oil? There was a good video on this a few weeks ago. Yeah, so it depends on the person. I know what video you're talking about. I can't think of the YouTuber's name, but I did watch the video. I was on my kind of break of making content. Otherwise, I would have made my own reaction video and given my thoughts. I even joined the guy's Discord for a little bit to get to know kind of that community and kind of hear what their thoughts were. I think most of the points he made were valid, but there's always... trying to think how to say this. There's definitely a lot of snake oil type people who should be called out, but I think he was maybe a little overly harsh on some of the people. Like the thing that many of us don't realize when we see these personalities online is they're like real people, and most of them are genuinely nice people. So I'll give you one example. One person that gets a lot of flack is Network Chuck, right? Because he appeals to a larger audience. He's probably one of the biggest YouTubers in this space, but I've gotten to know him personally. So I did a video on his channel. He asked me if I could and was obviously happy to do so. It gave me a bunch of subscribers being on his channel, but I also got to know him offline, just without the video stuff, and a genuinely nice person. And he gets some hate, I think, because his whole, like, you need to learn this right now, but he hasn't done that for a while. But he appeals to a wider audience. But I wouldn't call him one of those snake oil people. He does have an academy, but I think it's like $5 a month to join. And he's not trying to get rich off of the community by selling all these crazy courses and boot camps. But there are people like that. I've even called them out before. I made a whole song about it one time. So you do need to be careful, but what I even share in this course, I have a part that's like about your instructor, and I explain in that part of the course that anytime you're listening to someone talk about ethical hacking, the most important question you need to ask is, who is this person? There are far too many YouTubers that make a thumbnail with an anonymous mask, and they say, here's how you can become a hacker, and they've never been a hacker before in their life. And even on that video that blew up, here's what I remember asking. I commented this on the video, and I also asked in Discord, but I was like, hey, appreciate your thoughts, but I'm curious, like, do you have any experience as a pen tester? Because he was talking about hacking and things like that, and he told me he spent, I don't know, a month or 2 months as a pen tester, didn't like it, and then went to something else, and that he wasn't really passionate about cyber. So, I mean, okay, that's fine, but even that person was sort of falling into that same trap. Like, Don't talk about careers, especially careers about pen testing or ethical hacking, when you've never done it, especially if you've only done it for a month, right? Where I've been pen testing professionally now for almost 3 years. I do it day in, day out as a consultant, working for companies around the United States, sometimes around the world. So hopefully the things I say have some weight behind them, because I'm not trying to get rich off of the community, but this is the thing I do day in and day out. Long answer to your question. Don't know if that was helpful, but those are my thoughts without any prep as well. So, hey, Sync Logic, DM me on Discord. I have like 4,000 requests on LinkedIn, and they just get buried. But if you DM me on Discord with your LinkedIn URL, I'll accept it. The wall reveal. Yes, the wall is not real. Lizzie said, question, best chain of vulns on an engagement. So Lizzie, I don't think I can answer that question. I mean, I have some thoughts, but, and Lizzie, you would know this as well based on your background. I typically never speak about the engagements I do on my live stream, because I don't want to accidentally offend a client or have a client realize I'm talking about them. And like, here's the crazy thing, the organizations I pen test for, some of them actually watch my stream. So I was actually in a project planning call today for an engagement coming up, and the head on the other side, they're like, do you have any questions? And he was like, hey, Tyler, when is your next live stream? And I was like, dude, it is tonight. I am making a course. Come join. And so like the clients I work for actually watch my content, which is amazing, but I don't like talking about any engagement details as a result, not just because of that, but just for confidentiality reasons. So I'll have to pass on your question, Lizzie, because I don't want to accidentally reveal any information about a client or about their environment. Cyborg Hacker said, I watch almost all videos you have on AD, but do you have any recommendations for learning resources? Thank you. So actually, Cyborg Hacker, we have another course coming out through HackSmarter/Simply Cyber on Intro to AD Pen Testing. It's taught by my friend Ryan Yeager. You might know him as Overgrown Carrot. That's the name he streams under. He is a red teamer. He's an incredible teacher. And that course right now is in beta. I think it might be releasing next week. Don't quote me on that, but I know it's going to be very soon. But you'll be able to get to that on Simply Cyber Academy with a completely free account. So I'm dropping a link right now to Simply Cyber Academy, but create a free account there. You'll see that course pop up, and that Intro to AD Pen Testing course that he's going to release is completely free. So nothing to lose there. All right. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask them. I'm just going to get some things set up on my end so that I'm good to go. And I'll also show you guys where we've been and where we are going tonight. So here is the course that I am in the process of creating. We have completed all of Module 1, and I can show this if I hit Start Lesson and kind of see what it actually looks like. But I completed all of Module 1. We're done with all of Module 2. Turn off my desktop audio so you guys don't hear me talking in the background. So all of Module 1 is done. Configuring the lab environment, we did all this. Free tier AWS account, budget alerts, configuring the AWS CLI. And I'll just show you guys what you will get if you actually purchase this course as opposed to just watching these live streams. I, of course, have the videos on here, but they're nice and well done, not me stumbling around like you sometimes see me on stream. But also, in addition to like the video stuff, I have lab guides for all the labs, written lab guides. And if I jump down to, for example, last night we worked on IAM for pen testers. So here's like the main video there. All the labs here, but I also have cheat sheets for every single service that you'll get access to in the course that I created specifically for the course, just to give as much value as I possibly can. But we completed all of this section 3.0 last night. Our plan for tonight is to work our way through section 4.0. So we're going to first do some theory. S3 for pen testers. I have a nice little slideshow. It'll be short, but there's some key terms you need to understand. I have my S3 enumeration cheat sheet I already created. Then we're going to get our lab set up. We're going to do a lab from Pwn Labs for this one, and then we'll jump over to CloudGoat. But I wanted to showcase one lab from Cyber, which is what we did for IAM, and one lab for Pwn Labs, which is what we're doing for S3. Completely free lab. You should have made a free account for Pwn Labs if you were following along in the previous streams, but you can make a free account right now and follow along with that. But we're going to do that free lab. And then we have a quiz at the end I already created that I'll give you guys a shot and see if you're able to get the questions correct. So the focus for tonight is going to be attacking S3 buckets. I don't think I'll jump to dysfunctional functions. Like I said before, I'm starting a little bit earlier tonight. I want to maybe get done a little bit early so I can like actually exercise and do something instead of sitting in front of my computer. But we are going to for sure make it through all of module 4.0. That is my goal for this evening. What up, Mong? What up, Nox Lumens? What up, Eldritch? What up, Netfos? Good to have you guys here. And then one final self-promotion real quick. This course is going to be available for early access, for beta access early next week. So originally I said early access would be May 5th. Well, I decided I'm just going to keep on grinding till this course is done. And I think I'll have the full course ready to go for early access next week. If you want early access to my course, it's going to be available to those on Ko-Fi who are in the Hack Smarter support plan. Now, that's just a way of you saying thank you for the content I make, and my thank you to you is giving you beta access and then making changes to the course based on your feedback. So if you want to do that, you can sign up on Ko-Fi, but you don't have to. Like I said before, the course will be available for everyone on Monday, May 12th for $20. That will give you lifetime access to the course, and I will be continually updating the course, making sure it's fresh and up to date. I'll answer your question real quick, Ace, and then we'll jump into the content. He said, nice to see you back, Tyler. This question, I know you've heard it a lot, but I'm zero experience in pen testing. I've been training on TryHackMe. What is the next step you think I should take? I'm not just saying this because I created the course, but I created a free course called Introduction to Hacking Methodology that I think you'll find super helpful. And like I said before, it's completely free. No strings attached. I just dropped a link there. Here is what that course looks like. Introduction to Hacking Methodology, and you can see it's more of kind of a mini course, but I cover quite a bit here. I talk about how to take good notes, how to do proper enumeration, how to do exploitation in a few different ways, how to do privilege escalation, and then some career steps at the end of the course. So that course is free. Go create a free account at Simply Cyber Academy, register for the course, let me know what you think of it, join the HackSmarter Discord, and yeah, enjoy. But that would be my recommendation. All right, let me pull some things over to different screens. I need to get logged into a few things as well real quick. I'm also going to turn off chat on the screen. All right, it's already turned off on this one. Perfect. And in my notes, let me get down to my S3 information. Oh, and that's right. I wanted to show my website. I'm going to see if I can get logged in real quick to the AWS Council. Well, no, I'll just show it. I got it. I know what I'll do. I know what I'm saying right now makes no sense to you guys. I'm like thinking out loud how I want to do this material. Are there any cloud certification exams that would complement the course? Yes, one that I can think of right away is Pwn Labs. So Pwn Labs has a certification on Amazon Cloud in Attack, but it is not cheap. Let me drop it here. I mean, it's honestly super affordable compared to other certs, but it's super well done. It's a 4-hour, here, I'll show it to you guys. Here's what I'm referring to. So Pwn Labs has this Amazon Cloud Attack and Defense Bootcamp. Don't let the bootcamp terminology scare you. It's not like the, hey, get 6 figures. I actually suggested to Pwn Labs, maybe instead of bootcamp, you change that word to training or course, just because bootcamp has such bad connotations, but they're keeping bootcamp, and I can respect that. But purchasing this gives you live training, and then also gives you, I believe, 2 vouchers for the Amazon Cloud Red Team Professional Certification. But this would be a good cert to go alongside of this course. But you can see, my course is $20. This is $400. So the cert, or this training, what I'm doing right now is a good starting spot. Good question, though. All right, let me continue getting logged into things real quick. Oh, and thank you, Johnny. I just saw your comment saying that it's a good course, my intro to hacking methodology. I appreciate that. All right, I'm thinking about how I want to do this real quick. If I open it in this tab. Okay, guys, I'm testing something real quick. Okay, so that works as long as I don't click out of it. But if I click over here, then that probably doesn't work. Yeah, then it doesn't go back. I mean, that'll be fine, I think. Yeah, it'll be good. All right. Are you guys ready to kick off another night of working on this course? Drink of water, and then we're going to start recording the first part of the module on S3 buckets. What up, Frozen Fusion? Good to have you here. All right, let's go ahead and kick things off. I think how I want to do my intro. Do I use Python scripting to automate my work? I do. Yeah. I'll give you a fuller answer in a second. Let me just knock out this first recording. And also for those of you who might be new to kind of this format, when I'm doing these recordings, I'm not looking at chat because this is going to be for the course itself. And so I can't see chat when I'm doing this because I'm looking directly at my webcam. The chat monitor is over there, and I want to make sure I'm making eye contact. That being said, when I'm recording, they're shorter videos, anywhere from 5 to maybe 12 minutes. And then in between each recording, I take a short break, look at chat, answer any questions you guys have. So you are kind of like the studio audience as I record for this course, and also open to feedback. If I say something that's confusing or that's wrong, let me know, and I'll just re-record that section for the course. But here we go. I'm trying to think of how I want to do this. This is section or module 4. All right, module 4, your bucket is leaking. Let's go. Welcome to module 4, your bucket is leaking. That's just my unique way of talking about S3 buckets. If you've never heard of an S3 bucket, well, you may have been living under a rock. If you've heard about things like the Capital One breach and these different AWS breaches, they often come down to a misconfigured S3 bucket. But maybe you've heard the name S3 bucket, but you have no idea what that actually means or how a pen tester or a hacker would dig into an S3 bucket. Well, that is what this section is for, and we are going to get hands-on with an entire lab digging into S3 buckets and finding some exposed credit card information. But before we can do that, there are some theory things that we need to get out of the way and some key terms that you need to understand. So whether you are brand new to S3 buckets or you're already an AWS pen tester, I think you'll find some of the content here helpful. Let's go ahead and dive in. So your bucket is leaking, the basics of S3 buckets. First, S3 stands for Simple Storage Service. Now, if I was a teacher, which I guess I kind of am right now, but a teacher in an academic setting, they often say, hey, this might be on a quiz. Now, this may not be on a quiz, although I do think it's on the section quiz at the end, but this might be an interview question you get. If you're applying for a cloud pen testing job or a cloud engineer job, they might ask you, hey, what does S3 stand for? And this is what it stands for: Simple Storage Service. And the way I like to think of it is like FTP in the cloud. And the reason I say that is if you are used to doing traditional CTFs on Try Hack Me or Hack the Box, and you discover that port 21 is exposed, well, one of the first things you do on port 21 is see, hey, does the FTP server allow anonymous access? And if it does, then you often check, hey, can I write to the FTP server? Can I upload files? And sometimes I've seen seen it on CTFs where the FTP server is actually hosting a web server and you can write to the web server through the FTP server. So if you understand FTP in your traditional CTF or on-prem pen testing environment, S3 buckets are similar. You can think of it like FTP in the cloud. Many of the checks that you do when you see port 21 open are the same type of checks you do when you see that an organization is using S3 buckets. Now, there's a few different use cases for S3 buckets. I only listed 3 of them here, but there are way more than I can list. But one use case is a static website. Matter of fact, if you've ever been to the website hacksmarter.org, that is actually hosted in an S3 bucket. And I'll see if I can grab it for you right here. This website, hacksmarter.org, is just a static website hosted in an S3 bucket in my Amazon account. This is why you can't really hack it. There's no authentication. There's no functionality. There is some cross-site scripting I left in here on purpose. So if you want a fun web app challenge, see if you can execute JavaScript on my website and send it to me in Discord if you're able to. But all of this right here, if I cat out like discord.txt, this is all just HTML and JavaScript hosted statically in an S3 bucket. Let me jump back over to our slides. It's also used for backups of different software, different programs, whatever the organization is using. And S3 buckets are commonly used for logs as well, and a bunch of other resources. So knowing that, you can imagine for the backups and the logs, if you get access to reading a variety of different S3 buckets, you can pillage for sensitive data. Let's go ahead and keep going and we'll talk more about that. But before we get to attacking S3 buckets, I need to define some key terms for you as we talk. One key term is just buckets. You'll hear this talked about, of course, a lot, but buckets are the top level container for the things that are stored in the bucket, and each bucket has a globally unique name. So if I set up an S3 bucket called Hack Smarter Bucket, you cannot create one called Hack Smarter Bucket. You would have to create Hack Smarter Bucket 2, Hack Smarter Bucket 3, whatever it is. Each one has a globally unique name. There's also objects. Objects in an S3 bucket is the actual data or the files in the bucket. So if we go back to my hacksmarter.org website, the bucket is the overall HackSmarter bucket, but the object is the HTML that I've uploaded into the bucket to serve on that web server. And then finally, you have different forms of access control. You can set bucket policies, which are resource-based, are connected to the bucket themselves, and it's that JSON document we've looked at already a few times in our previous labs when we were analyzing roles and groups and all of that fun stuff. There's also IAM policies, which means, hey, this specific user or this specific role has access to this bucket or maybe a wildcard access to all of these different buckets. And finally, you have access control lists or ACLs. This is a legacy option. You sometimes still see it in use in production, but it's just another way of controlling who has access to the bucket and what they can do inside of the bucket. When it comes to pen testing S3 buckets, there's a few different things you want to look for, but really, think about it as FTP in the cloud. The same things you check when you see that port 21 is open for FTP are the same things you're going to check when you see that S3 is open. One, see if there's allows public access. Now, sometimes public access is enabled by default. For example, my S3 bucket that I'm using for my website has public access enabled. If it did not have public access enabled, you cannot see the website. But it has public access enabled on purpose because I have no secrets or anything sensitive being stored there. But every once in a while on an AWS pen test, I will find an S3 bucket that's hosting a static website, but in addition to hosting a static website, they might have a backup folder inside of the S3 bucket that they don't realize is public, and I can drill down into that and find credentials or other sensitive information. You also want to look for misconfigured permissions. That kind of goes across the board for AWS pen testing. When it comes to AWS pen testing, you're not looking for crazy 0 days to drop to get access, but you're looking for misconfigurations in the client's environment. Maybe it's a permission misconfiguration, maybe you're able to write to it, which leads to point number 3, and that is public write access. If you are able to write to an S3 bucket, that is not good. I mean, you can do a few different attacks with that. One, you can just upload a bunch of objects to the bucket and do what's called a DOW, or a denial of wallet attack. If you can upload unlimited objects to the bucket, you can just ramp up their cloud costs and cost the client a whole bunch of money as a DOW or denial of wallet attack. Another thing you can do if there's public write access is you can actually upload malicious code. So imagine for a moment there is an S3 bucket and it's hosting JavaScript that does authentication for a login field. Well, if you can write to that bucket, you can actually upload your own malicious script, and when a user logs in on the login form, it will authenticate them, but it will also send their credentials to your C2 server, and you just did a supply chain attack by attacking their S3 bucket, which then goes down into their authentication, and you now can steal credentials out of that. There's actually a cool lab on TryHackMe that demonstrates this. I don't think it's free, but there is a lab on TryHackMe that shows this off, and a lab on Pwn Labs that shows this off. Now, finally, a common thing you'll see is data exposure when it comes to S3 buckets. If it's not configured properly and sensitive data, or what we're going to see in our hands-on lab, credit card details are exposed in clear text in the bucket, and an attacker gains access to it, well, it is game over for that organization. And this is the most common thing I see when I do AWS pen testing with S3 buckets. I'm able to scan all the buckets, look for sensitive information, and I have found social security numbers, I have found credit card information, I have found super sensitive data just hanging out in an S3 bucket, waiting for me to open up that door and read the files. Thankfully, I do it, and then I give a report to the client so they can fix it before a real bad actor does it to them. But if you just do a simple Google search for S3 bucket misconfiguration or S3 bucket data exposure, you will find news article after news article after news article where an S3 bucket has misconfigured permissions and it costs the organization a whole bunch of money. And here I want to show you an example of an S3 bucket policy. So look at this for a moment and just consider what are some issues with this. This is the JSON policy. This shouldn't be new to you yet because we just looked at all of this in the previous section. We have our version, that's kind of standard information, but we have an allow statement and we have a wildcard. Now, remember in our previous lesson about IAM, I said anytime you see a wildcard, you need to lean in and pay attention because that means any principal, this would be an IAM user, so any IAM user from any other account can do everything. Another wildcard here for S3, which means I can do all actions of the S3 bucket. I can write to the bucket, I can list the bucket, I can read from the bucket, I can delete objects from the bucket, and I'm able to do it to a public bucket, which doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but imagine it's a public bucket because it hosts a website. The bucket is meant to be public, but you're not meant to be able to write to the bucket, which could lead to an attacker defacing the static website, setting up JavaScript to steal credentials, whatever it is, but this is a common misconfiguration I see in clients' environments and throughout pen testing in general, and this is a common misconfiguration that leads to massive data breaches. So on the blue team, you need to be able to look at your JSON policies and identify, hey, this might be an issue because I have a wildcard. And as a pen tester, same thing. You need to be able to look at policies like this. The wildcard should draw your attention to it and be able to read through the policy and think, what could a threat actor do if they got access to whatever this policy is in order to attack this bucket that might be out on the internet? So those are all the core concepts and key terms when it comes to S3 buckets. In the next section, we are going to get hands-on by enumerating through an S3 bucket and finding some exposed credit card information, all of course in a lab environment. Before we get to that though, right after this video, I have an entire cheat sheet for you. If you want to learn how to enumerate S3 buckets, it's manual a lot of the time, and because it is the AWS CLI or command line interface, it can be confusing. So I made a cheat sheet. Make sure you grab that cheat sheet, drop it in your notes so you can refer to it later, and then join me and we will start our first hands-on lab for S3 buckets. I will see you over there. Boom. First video is done. And yo, Sync Logic just subscribed over on Ko-Fi. I think you must have done that when I started to record. Thank you so much. Seriously, for your support. You are amazing. Here, let me go ahead and get that pulled up so I can give you a proper thank you. Let me log back into Ko-Fi. So Sync Logic became a member of the Hack Smarter Learning Plan. That is the $35 a month. Seriously, thank you for your generosity. And for those wondering what is going on, you may have seen the Ko-Fi link get dropped. The Hack Smarter Learning Plan is just another way of you saying thank you to me for my content. But as a thank you back to you, you'll get access to all my courses as they release. And I'll kind of share these courses with you guys real quick. Let me turn off Dark Reader because it's messing up the formatting. But here are the courses that I am working on. Intro to Hacking Methodology has already been released. Intro to AWS Pen Testing is going to release on May 12th. Then I'm going to do an entire course on phishing. I wasn't going to do YouTube videos on this, but to be honest with you, if I make videos on phishing for YouTube, my account will get strikes against it because that's kind of a bordering threat actor academy right there. So I'm doing a full course though on how, as a pen tester, I set up phishing engagements, set up all the domains, how I buy domains and select them. I also have a practical CVE hunting course coming out as long as CVEs are still a thing in September. And then finally an intro to pen test report course coming out then. Each one of these courses will be anywhere from $15 to $20, but if you're in the Hack Smarter Learning Plan, you will get access to all the courses as they release. All right, let's jump back over to this. And let me go ahead and grab the video I just made. I need to make sure I drop it in the right spot so I can edit it slightly later. Give me just a moment. You create a folder for module 4 rather, and grab this video right here. Drop it, and we'll do S3 buckets for pen testers. All right. So far, so good. Show you guys where we're heading now. Let me get the course pulled back up. And I'm going to jump back just a moment. All right, like I said before, we finished 1, 2, 3. We're on 4. We just finished 4.1 S3 for pen testers. Then there's the bucket enumeration cheat sheet. And now I'm going to record a short video on the lab introduction and setup for this hands-on lab that we are going to do. I'll go ahead and get the lab pulled up, and I'll drop the link in chat. If you guys want to join me live on stream, you can go through this lab right alongside of me. Let me get it pulled up real quick. I need to get authenticated to Pwn Labs. And if you don't have an account on Pwn Labs, you should go make one. Pwn Labs is sort of like Hack the Box for the cloud. They have labs on AWS, Azure, and GCP, both red team and blue team. But I just dropped a link for you guys. And let me see if I can find this one. Also, let me just show you guys what Pwn Labs looks like. It's so cool. I love the UI for Pwn Labs. I love the way it looks. But they have a bunch of free labs, as you can see right here. We're going to do, I think it's this one. Yes. All right, let me drop this link here for you guys. If you want to join along. And we're going to break this up into a few different parts, but this first video is just the video on getting the initial lab set up. So let me go ahead and switch back over to this, and I'll record quick. All right, here we go. Welcome to the first hands-on lab for S3 enumeration. This lab is going to be hosted on Pwn Labs. I said this a few different times, but I wanted to showcase one lab from Cyber, which is an incredible platform for learning AWS pen testing, and one lab from Pwn Labs, which is an incredible platform as well for learning AWS pen testing, as well as Azure and GCP. I like to think of Pwn Labs as like Hack the Box for the cloud, and it's amazing. They have some paid labs and some paid networks, but they also have a whole bunch of free labs. And the lab that we are going to do for this course is a completely free lab. So you should have made your free Pwn Labs account in the beginning when we were doing our lab setup. If you did not do that, go ahead and create your free account on Pwn Labs, and I'm going to show you how we can access this lab. Once you log into Pwn Labs, you see that we're right here on the Academy section. And because we want to learn about S3 buckets, you can go over here to search, and we'll just type in S3 and click Find Lab. All right, when we do that, you can see that we have a few different labs here on S3. We're going to do this one right here, AWS S3 Enumeration Basics for Beginners. We'll click Start Pwning right here. And now we just need to turn on the lab to get started. So I'm going to turn the lab on right here. Once the lab turns on, we also want to get our notes set up, which, you know what, guys? I'm going to stop recording. That one's not going to be a one take. I meant to be logged into Notion already, and I forgot I still needed to log into Notion. So we're going to redo that video. Thankfully, it's a short one. I just needed to get logged back into Notion. All right. Let me turn that lab off. Jump back over to Pwn Labs. What up, Zach? Good to have you here. All right, that one was just a practice take. Dude, Kevin Hoy, congratulations. Someone was just asking me about that cert. What did you think about the cert? So Kevin Hoy just passed the Pwn Labs ACRTP, that AWS pen testing cert I was just talking about a little bit ago. Congratulations on passing it. That's amazing. All right, take number 2. Yo, Homino, yes, we started early. I'm hoping to finish early. My kids went to bed early, so I was like, all right, let me jump on, knock out this section so I can exercise a little bit. All right, we're going to redo the intro section for this lab. Let me start recording again. Welcome to the hands-on lab for S3 enumeration. This lab is going to be hosted on Pwn Labs, so you don't have to host it in your own AWS account. And I've said this a few different times, but I wanted to showcase one lab from Cyber, which was the previous lab on IAM enumeration. Cyber is an incredible platform for learning AWS pen testing. And I wanted to showcase one lab from Pwn Labs, which is what we're doing right now. Pwn Labs is also an incredible resource for learning AWS, Azure, and GCP pen testing, as well as blue teaming. Both platforms teach both red team and blue team. But Pwn Labs, I like to think of it as hack the box for the cloud. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and I'll show you how you can join me in this lab. Here it is. Once you get logged into Pwn Labs, you can click Academy, and everything we're going to do here is a free Pwn Labs account. When we went through the lab setup in the beginning of the course, you should have created your free account on Pwn Labs. If you did not do that, you're going to want to pause this video, go ahead and create your free account on Pwn Labs, and then come back to this video. But once you do that, we can just type in S3 right here. You can see I already did it, but type in S3 and click Find Labs, and then just scroll through here, and on the left side, you're going to see this lab. AWS S3 Enumeration Basics. Go ahead and click into this lab and click Start Pwning. Once we click Start Pwning, there's a toggle right up here that has lab off. We're going to click that to turn the lab on, and we're going to get our initial entry point. Now, you can download a VPN file, but you do not need to download the VPN file for this lab, so you can ignore that just for this lab. At least I'm pretty sure you can ignore it. We'll see if I get in trouble for saying that, but I think you can access everything in this lab just from the internet. Finally, one of the most important things when you're going through a hands-on lab is taking good notes. I like to use Notion, but it's less important what you use for taking notes and just more important that you're in the habit of taking notes every single time you work through a lab. So you can use Notion, Obsidian, OneNote, Visual Studio Code, Notepad, Microsoft Paint for all I care. Just make sure you are in the habit of taking good notes. I'm going to jump over to Notion right here, and everything you see me do in Notion, you can do. I just use the completely free Notion plan. I don't pay for it at all. So everything you see me do is free. I'm going to do /page to set up a new page. And I'm going to call this page AWS S3 Enumeration Basics. And I just like to label it by the platform. So we'll call this Pwn Labs, and I'm going to go ahead and make this full width. And before we dive in, let's just get a little bit of things started. We know that we begin with a website. So we're just going to do an H1, and I'm going to call this our scope. And now I'm going to do a code block. To do a code block, it takes 3 backticks. 1, 2, 3, and I'm just going to grab this in because this is the scope that we are given. So if you think of this like a pen test, here is the scope that we have. So once you get logged into Pwn Labs, once you turn the lab on and get your notes ready to go, you are done with this section. Join me. Struggling with talking, join me in the next video, and then we'll get hands-on with the S3 enumeration. And I also have a few challenge labs for you coming up, and I'm looking forward to those. So get your notes set up, get the lab launch, and I will see you over in the next video. Boom. Another one done. I tripped over my words there in the last little section, but I'm definitely not going to re-record the video because I slightly stumbled over my words there. That's fine. Just shows that I am actually a human being. Let me drop it here, rename it intro to lab. All right, and make this small. Let me look at chat. Why don't you continue and edit it together? So, because this is for a course, and each video in the course should only be like 5 to 12 minutes long. So I don't want super long videos because it makes it hard for people to follow the course. So like, here's the course. You can see what I'm working on. We're in this section right here. So we finished S3 for pen testers. The bucket enumeration cheat sheet I already made. I just filmed the lab introduction and setup. And now we're going to do 4.4, identifying, listing, and downloading from buckets. So that's what we're going to work on right now. See if there's anything else I'm missing in chat before we continue forward. Hey, Tyler, I'm going to my college. Congratulations. That is awesome. Thank you for sharing. What up, Sebastian? Thank you, Siraj. It's good to be back. I can't wait to get stuff into the content. What's the site, bro? So, do you mean like the course? The course is not released yet. You can access my Intro to Hacking Methodology course right now over on Simply Cyber Academy. I just dropped the link there. And when this course releases on May 12th, because SyncLogic, you're part of the Hack Smarter learning plan, go ahead and create your account on Simply Cyber Academy. But as soon as the course releases, I will send you a special code that will give you full access to the course. You don't need to pay anything additional because you're in the Hack Smarter learning plan over on Ko-Fi. So when the course releases, you'll get an email from me with a code that gives you full access to the course. Awesome. Kevin Hoy said he loved the cert, learned a bunch for both red and blue. Watching you go through it blind was so helpful for me, using my knowledge in my day job already. Amazing. That is awesome. So unprofessional, Tyler. Yo, Tyler, I need some Girl Scout cookies. Are you selling more? No, Girl Scout cookie is all done. Girl Scout cookie season is all done. Wait, you're not a bot? Could have fooled me. I am not a bot. I'm just very advanced AI. What up, S versus J face off? Okay. Intro is done. Now we will record the other part. I just need to see what it's called again. Identifying, listing, and downloading from buckets. Let me look at my notes. What am I all? We'll make sure I don't go too far. Okay. I see. Let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to start recording. Let me make this full screen. And I'm going to pull this out. Okay. Andrew said, do you think it would be worth going to college to learn penetration testing, or would following YouTube tutorials be a better use of my time? There's one, the most helpful thing about college is the HR filter. So many jobs require a bachelor's degree, even if it's not in cybersecurity. Like if you just get a bachelor's in computer science, that would be an amazing degree to have. I have an associate's in business administration, a bachelor's in cybersecurity, and a master's of divinity, which is like the academic level studying philosophy and theology and Greek and Hebrew and all that fun stuff. I was actually working in a doctorate when I switched over to cyber, but my academic degrees have been helpful in getting me through the HR screening filter. But in addition to that, I was looking to search like the OSCP. The OSCP through OffSec is still the gold standard for pen testing. But even more than all of that, like networking is key. Going to conferences, being part of Discord communities, getting to know people in the community, networking is often the best way to land a pen testing job. All right, let's go ahead and start recording. And what's this one called? Identifying, listing, and downloading from buckets. All right, now we are going to begin the section on identifying, listing, and downloading buckets, going from the hands-on lab we just started on Pwn Labs. If I share my screen here, you can see that we were given this as our scope. And let's go ahead and treat this like an actual pen test. Our client told us, hey, this is the web app that is in scope. We don't need to do port scanning or anything like that because it's a web app that's in scope and not just an IP. But we have this web app. Let's first just see what is hanging out on this web app. We'll type it into our URL, and we have huge logistics. We make your transport simple. We have some estimated cost stuff. We can just type in some information here, and I'll click estimate, and you can see that just gets method not allowed. Although this error message right here very much looks like an S3 bucket. We don't know for sure, but this is what it looks like in S3 bucket. We have the host ID, the request, and the resource type of object. And if you remember, when we were going through and I was explaining S3 bucket, the files stored in there are objects. So this seems to indicate that we are potentially looking at a website being hosted in an S3 bucket. Let's go ahead and grab a screenshot for our notes. Now, what I like to use to take screenshots is called FlameShot, and I don't even think I have that installed on this Kali Linux machine because this is a fresh Kali machine, so you can install it right alongside of me. To install FlameShot, we'll do sudo apt install FlameShot. Type in your password. Y for yes, and it will install pretty quickly. And now FlameShot is installed. We can go ahead and launch it just by searching for FlameShot and click it. FlameShot is installed. Congratulations. But we can go ahead and grab FlameShot and just grab a screenshot of this would be good. And we'll do Control C on our keyboard to copy, jump over to our notes, and I'm just going to make an H1 here, and we'll call this, well, if I can go like that. There we go. Enumeration. And we'll drop our screenshot in here. We definitely don't need our screenshot to be that big though, so we'll make it a little bit smaller, and we'll also left align it. And I'm just going to add a note here. Error message indicates a potential S3 bucket is hosting this website. There we go. And now let's continue our enumeration and just continue looking at the website itself. We'll go back right here and we scroll through. It does just seem to be a static website. There's nothing going on. It doesn't seem like we can authenticate. If we click news, it doesn't do anything. Contact doesn't do anything. We have a client portal, status, tracking. It doesn't go anywhere. So when nothing is going on, we do have a username up here if we were doing more of a red team engagement, but because it's just a static website, one of the best things you can do is look at the website source. So let's go ahead and view the page source and see if there's anything that stands out to us. Right away, we see this. We have the style sheet being hosted in an S3 bucket called dev.huge-logistics.com. So it does seem that our initial idea was correct, that this website is being hosted in an S3 bucket. Let's grab a screenshot of that as well for our notes. We'll go like this, and we'll just grab it like that. We can add a box around this to show this is what we're looking at, as well as a box around the URL if we were writing a pen test report showing this is the URL that we are looking at. I'm going to do Control C, jump back over to my notes, and we'll drop that screenshot right here as well. We don't need it that big, so we'll make it a little bit smaller, but drop it over here. So we know that it's in an S3 bucket called dev.hugelogistics.com. Now, if you refer back to the S3 enumeration cheat sheet I gave you right before this video, you should know how you might be able to enumerate this bucket. Remember, the first thing you want to check is saying, hey, can we access this bucket publicly? Can we list what objects are in this bucket? Let's go ahead and open up our terminal, and we'll go ahead and try that. The way we can do that is AWS, S3, ls for list, S3 again, and then we want to drop the bucket name in here. So we'll grab the bucket right here, like that, and then to do it anonymously, we just want to do no sign request. And you can see when we do that, we are able to list the bucket, and we have some interesting folders. We have an admin folder, a migrations file folder, a share folder, and a static folder. Let's go ahead and grab this for our notes. And we can look into each one of these. So we'll go ahead and jump over to admin, cross our fingers, and you can see we cannot access the admin one. Well, let's just continue going through these. How about migration files? And we cannot access that, although I think I'm doing it wrong. Let's remove that slash at the end. Let's see if that works. And that does not work either. Let's go and access shared. Just going through each one of these buckets. And you do need the /, I think. And there we go. When we do shared, we see a file right here called hlmigrationproject.zip. Let's go ahead and see if we can download that locally and see what that looks like. So I'm just going to add it right here. .zip, and I'm going to do a dot here to save it to my current directory. And instead of ls, we want to do cp for copy. And let's see if we're able to do that. Cross our fingers, and we are able to do it. I'm going to clear my screen, and now if we do ls, I'm going to unzip that project, and let's see what is in it. It looks like we have a PowerShell script. If we ls right here, we can cat out our migrate secrets.powershell script, and let's just look at this together. We already see something being exposed that you don't want to be exposed. We've talked about this a few different times, but access keys and secrets in AWS are sort of like a username and a password. This is going to give us access to another account. We have the access key and the secret right here, and it looks like it's just using this script to read some secrets from export.xml and doing some secret fun stuff. But what we want is this right here. We know the region, the access key, and the secret. I'm going to grab that and drop it in my notes. And now here is what I want you to do. I want you, as a challenge, to authenticate to the AWS CLI using this access key and this secret. We covered this when we were talking about IAM. Remember, it's AWS configure profile, name the profile, and then pass it the access key and the secret. And from there, I want you to do some enumeration. Are you able to find some credit card information being exposed in clear text? Can you use these credentials and go a little bit deeper into the environment? Give it a shot on your own first as a challenge lab. And hey, if you get stuck, or even if you don't get stuck, join me in the next video and I'll walk you through the entire process together. But first, I want you to learn by trying it on your own. You have the credentials, go ahead and configure your profile and see if you can find some credit card information. Have fun. Boom. Some teachers just keep asking us questions about basic stuff to get to the point. Tyler is not one of those teachers. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that one went well. I don't know if that video was too long though. I don't know if I'll have to break it up. Let me just check the length of that video real quick. Felt like it was getting a little bit long, but maybe not. Oh, no. It was only 7 minutes. That's a perfect length. All right, let me grab that video real quick and drop it into the right area. And we'll rename this identifying buckets. There we go. And if we jump over to our course, oops. Give me just a second. And we'll remember where we're at. So we're in the bucket is leaking. We covered 4.1. We covered 4.2. We covered 4.3. We just did 4.4. And now we have this challenge lab right here. And then I'll do the walkthrough. We're actually almost done with S3, which is amazing. Let me go ahead and grab this. And, oh, cool. I didn't know if I filled this out. I did. Let me just check my challenge lab right here. So we have identified a misconfigured S3 bucket that was exposing credentials here, which is all correct. Here's what you need to do. Configure these credentials as a new profile with the AWS CLI. Enumerate the permissions these credentials provide you with. Identify another sensitive file with more credentials. Configure the second set of credentials as a profile with the AWS CLI. And finally, use these credentials to find some juicy credit card information. For bonus points, create a blog post or video walkthrough as you work through it. Post it on LinkedIn and tag me in it. If you get stuck, that's okay. I'll provide a detailed walkthrough in the next video. So that's all the challenge lab information. Let me drop that back over to the side. And hey, what up, J-Mod? Good to have you here. Okay. Let me think. I'm trying to think if I have to split up the second part into two parts, which might be worth it. Let me look at my notes here to see how many steps there are. I think I can do this all in one video. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. Which platform do you use for note making? Is it free and syncing good? I use Notion.so. It's completely free, and yes, syncing is good. Cool. Good to have you here, J-Mod. All right, let's go ahead and record the next part of the course. I already answered your question success. Please don't spam your question. You'll get the ban hammer, my friend. All right, I'm going to start recording for the walkthrough of this lab. Well, hey, how did you do? Were you able to find the exposed credit card information? If you did, congratulations. If not, that's totally fine as well. The purpose of this course is so that you can learn. In this section, in this video, I'll give you a detailed walkthrough of how to do each one of the steps. And even if you accomplish the previous lab on your own, you might just learn a few tricks from the way I approach it. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll dive into this together. So in the migrate.secrets.ps1, we found these credentials. So step number 1, let's create a new profile with the AWS CLI that uses these credentials. We'll do AWS configure profile, and I'm just going to call it S3, and we'll go ahead and grab our access key right here, and we'll grab our secret. Remember, kind of like username and password in AWS, and we know the region is US East 1, and we'll use JSON for our output format. Now, once we configure these keys, you could just kind of cheat and assume that you need to enumerate an S3 bucket, but let's treat it like a real world scenario. We found some credentials for AWS, but we don't know what access these credentials have. Let's go ahead and use Paku to enumerate the access these credentials might have. I showcase Paku in the IAM module, and I'll be using Paku all throughout the course because I want you to get familiar with it. First, let's launch Paku just by typing Paku into our terminal. And we can go ahead and create a new session by hitting 0 on our keyboard. And we'll call this new session Pwn Labs. We want to import our keys based on the profile, which is the S3 keys. And now let's go ahead and search IAM because we want to enumerate our IAM permissions. Step number 1 is we can see if we can run IAM enum permissions. This will only work if the access we have has permissions to check like roles and groups, which isn't always possible, but is at least worth trying. We'll go ahead and do run IAM enum permissions, and you can see that it failed because we don't have the permissions in order to do that. We can do who am I, and you can see we don't have any permission information. Well, let's search IAM again. If we look at this, there's another module right here called IAM brute force permissions that some cool guy named Tyler actually added to Paku. That's me. And if we do help on IAM brute force permissions, you can see this. And I'm going to move my face so I'm not covering the details. It says this module will automatically run through all possible API calls of supported services in order to enumerate permissions. This uses the enumerate IAM library by Andres Rianco. So let's go ahead and try running this. We'll run IAM brute force permissions, specify the region of US East 1, and hit enter on our keyboard. Now, this will take just about a few minutes to run through all of this. I'll use the magic of video editing to jump to the end, but go ahead and get a drink of water, grab a coffee, whatever you want to do, and then come back and see what permissions you have in the account. So note to Tyler, this is the part that I will splice up and edit together so there's not just people staring at the screen waiting for it to enumerate. In the meantime, let me see what chat is doing. You guys can also watch it. I'll let you watch my screen as we enumerate. I'm a time it. All right, you let me know what it ends up being. And hopefully it detects the S3 stuff. It should, I'd assume. Panda Donut said, I've signed up for an account. Awesome. From start to finish, how long does it take for you to find a bug? Do you schedule it by day, like day 1 only recon? In an actual pen test, it all depends on the client, but I usually find multiple bugs each day. Oh, the Q&A goes throughout. Feel free to continue asking questions. I will, as we wait for things like this to run, I'll do Q&A. 5 minutes of jumping jacks, says Sebastian. Heck yeah. Do you use a VPS to pen test? If yes, could you make a video on it? No, I don't. I just use a Kali virtual machine. I don't use a VPS. We're around 3 minutes in. All right. The only downside of doing it this way, and it may not actually work. I did not test this ahead of time if this would work. It does a good job of detecting your common permissions, like things I'm able to do in the account. Because of the way this lab is configured, where S3 just kind of has public access to anybody, and this account just has a little bit of greater access, I'm not actually sure if this will discover the S3 permissions. But I'm curious if it will, so we'll just keep waiting. Do-do, 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 do. You know what we could do? We could take a 5-minute break and just bump some music. So I'm gonna just jump around for a little bit. It's been an hour and 10 minutes that I've been streaming so far. So I think this is a good time for a break as we wait for this to run. If this doesn't work, I'll just re-record that first part and not do the Paku enumeration. But I was hoping the Paku enumeration would work. But let me go ahead and find some music for you guys. I'll leave the screen up, so since you're timing it to see how... Oh, it's done. Maybe I won't take a 5-minute break. But did it actually discover the S3 stuff? I don't think it actually did. It did not. Dude, JMod, I saw Oblivion was released today, and I was like, man, I have to work on this course. Otherwise, I'd be playing it. So I'm going to have to re-record that part because this brute force thing doesn't discover S3 only because of how S3 is configured in this lab. Because the S3 bucket has public access and like this account just has a little bit of special access, it's not discovering that policy. So I'll re-record that part. Let me stop recording. How can this benefit blue team focus analysts? So one thing to keep in mind as a blue team focus analyst, and I share this in the beginning of the course, especially when we get to the Cloud Goat labs, which will start tomorrow night. Those are labs that you host in your own AWS account that you then attack. The cool thing about those labs is since they're in your account, you can do both red team and blue team. So you can do the red team side of things and exploit it, but on the blue team, you can go and look at logs, see what you need to configure so that you can discover it when it's firing off. You can also patch your own account, try to re-attack it to stop the attacker as well. Additionally, things like this brute force permission thing, if you have AWS configured properly, this is going to be like firing off alarms because it's literally running a whole bunch of IAM API attempts against the account that you should be able to detect. So a good blue teamer knows how to think like a red teamer so you can stop the red team. And a good red teamer knows how to think like a blue teamer so you can bypass the blue team's defenses. So they go together well. Both skill sets complement one another. All right, let me go back to this. Exit out of Paku. And we'll re-record this section. And we'll just start enumerating the S3 bucket. Hey, appreciate success for the kind words. All right, let me go ahead and start recording again. Well, hey, how did you do? Were you able to find the credit card information and pivot throughout these different AWS credentials that you discovered? If you did, congratulations. Even if you didn't, that's okay. I mean, you're in this course so that you can learn, so don't feel bad about it. Instead, as we go through this together, I want you to take good notes. It's one thing to watch me do it, but take good notes and do it alongside of me. Pause the video so you can get caught up. I want you to go through this lab on your own, type out all the commands because it's through muscle memory that you're going to be able to remember this syntax. But let's go ahead and dive in and pick up where we left off. We left off when we discovered this pair of access keys and a secret inside of migrate_secrets.ps1. Step number 1 is to configure an AWS profile so we can do this. We'll do AWS configure profile, and I'm going to call it S3. You can see when I was doing it previously, and we'll go ahead and copy this access key right here. Jump back over to here. I'm going to paste it in, and then we'll do the same thing for the secret. And we're in US East 1. We can do JSON for the format and hit enter on our keyboard. Now, remember, in Linux, you can do who am I, and that tells you who you are, but AWS makes it a little bit more confusing. So since we just configured new credentials, let's go ahead and make sure these credentials are actually active. We can do that with this command, AWS STS get caller identity, profile, cyber. And you can see that I did the wrong profile because I'm distracting myself. Cyber was yesterday. S3 is today as we are working through this course. And I'll also grab my face, not the whole screen. I'll grab my face. I will grab my face. There we go. It took me a second there to move my own head. But you can see that we are successful. We were able to authenticate on that S3 profile. We have our account ID and we have our username right here called PAM test. Now, if you know cybersecurity, PAM often stands for Principal Access Management. What does it stand for? Dang it. We're going to re-record that again. PAM, it's something access management, right? Let me Google it. Privilege, not principal, privilege access management. See, guys, I don't do it perfect one take every single time. But we're going to do it again because I want to make sure this course is really well done. This time, third time's a charm. We're going to do it good this time. Missed it by that much. I know. Not principal, privilege. And guys, I know that. But if you have never live streamed before, your mind just blanks sometimes. If you've ever had the benefit, and I don't know if I'd call it a benefit, but when you're in a meeting with other people and you're like, hey, let me share my screen and show you something. Every time you share your screen, it's like all of a sudden you forget how to use a computer. Take that times like 20 when you're live streaming. Like right now, across the different platforms, there's almost 70 people watching my screen and I'm trying to create a course. So it's like your mind can sometimes just blank on things. All right, here we go. Let's give this another shot. Showtime. Well, hey, how did you do? Were you able to find the exposed credit card information? Were you able to find those additional credentials, set up more profiles, and dig deeper into the environment? If you did, congratulations. But even if you didn't, that is totally fine. I mean, you're taking this course for the purpose of learning, so you don't need to feel bad. Instead, what I want you to do is make sure you take good notes as we work through this together. And you learned some things by watching me do it, but you're going to learn even more by doing it yourself. So don't let me get ahead of you. If I'm going too fast, go ahead and pause the video or slow down the video, but run every single one of these commands right alongside of me and take notes as you do it. Remember, the goal isn't to rush through a course or rush through a lab. The goal is to learn. And the best way to learn is to slow down, take your time, and take good notes. That being said, let's go ahead and dive into this together and pick up where we left off. If we jump back over to our notes, we found in this migrate-secrets.ps1 file, access key and a secret, essentially a username and a password that allows us to connect on the AWS CLI or the command line interface. Step number one is let's go ahead and set up the profile to do this. We'll go to our terminal and we'll do AWS configure profile S3. You can see it here from when I did it previously, but you probably won't have that. Go ahead and grab your access key right here and paste into your terminal. Go ahead and grab your secret. Paste that into your terminal. US East 1 for default region name and JSON for the default output format is fine. Now, the first thing you want to do is run the who am I equivalent in AWS. Now, in Linux, it's easy. You can do who am I, and that says who your user is. In AWS, because they like to make long verbose commands and make them confusing, it's a little bit more difficult. But we can do this. AWS STS get caller identity profile S3. When we do that, you can see that we are given our user ID, our account, and our username, PAM test. Now, we don't know for sure, but PAM in cybersecurity often stands for Privilege Access Management. So this might be an account that has a little more access to things than we had with our first account. Let's grab this and drop it into our notes. And now from here, we know that we got this from an S3 bucket. Let's continue doing our enumeration on that S3 bucket. So do AWS S3 LS right here. Instead of shared though, we're going to pass it our profile of S3. And you can see we now have admin. Well, we have all the same things we had before. Before we could access shared without authentication, but admin didn't work and migration files didn't work. So let's go ahead and try those directories now. We'll do admin first. And in admin, you can see we actually do have a flag as well as website transactions. Let's see if we can download that information. We'll go ahead and first just try to grab the flag.txt and jump over to ls, and we'll change it to CP. And we also need to add where we want to drop it. We'll just do a dot to do our current directory and hit enter on our keyboard. And you can see, although we can list the objects, we cannot download the objects. Let's go ahead and try the website transactions export, because that sure does sound like credit card information. And I told you that was the end goal of this lab. Let's try it. And that also fails. So we have the ability to list the objects in the admin part, but we cannot download them. Well, let's go ahead and check out migration files. That's another thing that we didn't have access to before. So we'll change admin to migration files. And let's see what access we have here. And you can see we have a few different PDFs. We have PDFs about AWS Secrets Manager migration. We have a migrate secrets.ps1, and we have a test export.xml. Well, these are PDFs. They might be helpful, but let's go ahead and download the scripts first, because often you will find credentials in scripts. So we'll go ahead and grab the migrate secrets.ps1. We'll change it from ls to cp for copy, and I always forget to add the dot for our current directory, and we'll do that. If we cat out migrate secrets.ps1, you can see we do have credentials right here. Are these the same credentials as before? I think they might be. We have the migrate secrets.ps1 right there, and that ends in GB9, and this also ends in GB9. So those are just the same things that we found in the shared folder. Let's check out that other file, which is the test export.xml. We'll run that same command, but we'll change this to test export.xml. And let's check out that file. All right, this file looks like we just hit the jackpot. Let me go ahead and grab this and drop it in our notes, and then we'll look at this together and see all the information this file gives us. All right, we have some Oracle database credentials. And I do just want to point out, this might look unrealistic, but this is the type of thing I see all of the time when I'm doing AWS pen testing in S3 buckets. So for the Oracle database, we have creds for that, so that's always fun. We have HP server credentials as well for the root user. We have AWS production credentials for an AWS IT admin, including an access key and a secret. It says AWS creds for production workloads. Do not share these keys outside the org. Well, we're hackers, so we got those keys. We have the Iron Mountain backup. We have the Office 365 admin account. We have the Jira admin account. This would be a bad thing for a threat actor to get their hands on. But we are doing an AWS lab, so let's go ahead and first experiment with these keys right here. We'll go ahead and add those to another profile. So we'll go here, AWS configure profile admin, and let's grab this access key ID right here. We'll grab our secret. We'll do US East 1, and we'll do JSON. And let's go ahead and confirm our access once again with that STS command, AWS STS get caller identity profile admin. And you can see we were able to authenticate successfully as the user IT admin. So we're doing some basic privilege escalation here by finding leaked and exposed credentials or hard-coded secrets. Now let's think about what we have so far. We have this IT admin, and when we were doing our S3 enumeration, we found some interesting files. We found a flag, but we also found some credit card information. Let's go ahead and check out that information again, but with these new credentials. So if we jump back over to website transactions right here, this command from admin, instead of running it from the S3 profile, what if we run it from our admin profile? And then we'll click enter on our keyboard. And with the admin credentials, we were able to download the website transaction export.csv. If we cat that out, you can see that we just found a whole bunch of credit card information. We have Visa, credit card, the CVV, the expiration date, the cardholder name, validation. Once again, I have seen this in real environments while doing AWS pen testing. This is not something out of the ordinary that you will run into on an AWS pen test. Now remember, there was also a flag.txt, but I want to give you the ability to do that yourself. So to complete the lab here on Pwn Labs, go ahead and do the same thing, but grab the flag.txt, and you can just enter in the flag over on Pwn Labs to get credit for doing this. If you scroll up, you can drop the flag right there, and congratulations, you just solved your first Pwn Labs lab, and you just solved the first hands-on lab for S3 enumeration. So give yourself a round of applause. You did an awesome job. And coming up next, we are going to have a quiz to test everything you learned on S3 enumeration and the S3 process in general. So go ahead and finish up your notes from this lab, submit the flag so you get credit on Pwn Labs, and then give the quiz a shot in the next section. Good luck. Hopefully you had fun. Happy hacking and happy learning. Boom. I'm going to go ahead and grab this real quick, and then I'll jump back over to chat. Let me grab that video and drop it in the right area. Eight minutes, 40 seconds. Awesome. That's perfect. Perfect timing. I appreciate you being the timer too. Seriously. That's really helpful. All right, let me jump back over to this. I'll show you guys where we are at. So I'm ahead tonight, which is amazing. Instead of streaming for almost 3 hours or an hour and a half, I still have time to exercise and get some of those things in. But we have finished all of Module 4.0. Congratulations. We finished S3 for pen testers. We finished S3 bucket enumeration cheat sheet. Well, I did that offline. We finished the lab intro and setup. We finished identifying, listing, and downloading from buckets. I have the challenge lab all typed up. I just did the walkthrough for the challenge lab. And now we have an S3 section quiz. You guys can try the quiz. That'll be what we'll close with tonight. And then we'll find somebody to raid to support over on streaming. Also, happy to do some AMA real quick. Let me look at questions, make sure I'm not missing anything. Scrolling. LinkedIn user said, hey, yo, I'm going to take the course, got my $20 ready, so I'm going to be able to do all these Pwn Labs and follow along for just $20. Exactly. $20 of lifetime access. You don't have to pay anything else for anything in the course. It's only $20 to get access to the course. Everything in the course is included. What's better about Cato than Burp? The UI. And the lack of rate limiting. Cato is better than Burp Community. S versus J is correct, but Burp Pro is still the best. All right, cool. Answered those couple of questions. Are you guys ready for the S3 section quiz? See if you guys are able to get it. Let me not give you the answers. Let me get out to the right spot, then I'll share my screen. All right, here is the course. We just finished all of 4.0. Let's try this. Oh, Brad, I do all kinds of pen testing. So I do web apps, APIs, mobile apps, which is Android and iOS. I do networks, internal and externals. I do social engineering, and I do cloud, AWS, Azure, and GCP. I do all sorts of pen testing. All right, we'll see how you guys do on the section quiz. We'll see if you're paying attention. So you can answer it as A, B, C, or D. What does S3 stand for in AWS? Secure storage system, static site service, simple storage service, or standard server storage? Nefo says C. Death Wisho says C. All right. We'll go with C. Check, and you guys are correct. Congratulations. Bucket names in S3 must be globally unique across all AWS customers. True or false? Neful says true. Not Just Fun says true. S vs. J Faceoff says true. Everyone's saying true. You guys are correct. We'll continue. Which of the following is not a valid way to control access to an S3 bucket? IAM policies, bucket policies, route tables, or access control lists. Which is not a valid way? A, B, C, or D? We got C. People are saying C. Give you guys a little bit more time. You are correct. You use AWS S3 LS S3 Dev Huge Logistics no sign request and see a list of files. What does this indicate? You are authenticated as an admin. The bucket is publicly listable. You have CLI misconfiguration. The bucket is encrypted. A, B, C, or D? B. Yes, you guys are correct. Good job. What kind of misconfiguration would allow an attacker to upload a malicious file into a bucket? Lack of object versioning, public read permissions, open write access, or disabled logging? A, B, C, or D? We got C. You guys are correct again. Final question. A pen tester finds a policy that allows principal and action S3 on all resources in a bucket. What does this mean? Only internal AWS services have access. MFA is required to access the bucket. Anyone on the internet has full access, or the bucket is encrypted. A, B, C, or D? I see lots of C's. And congratulations, you guys scored 100%. You must have been paying attention. Thank you for participating in the quiz. And hey, I'll turn chat back on the screen. Thank you so much for all of you taking the time to hang out with me for the third night in a row. Just a reminder, I'll be back again tomorrow night, same place, same time, for a little bit of a longer section. We're going to do some Lambda enumeration. I'm calling it dysfunctional functions, and we'll get hands-on with Cloud Goat and Paku and the CLI. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you come back tomorrow night. Tyler, did you purposely put C as most of the answers? No, but I'll change it. I didn't do it on purpose. But you're right, it is like always C. I'll modify that a bit. One more quick self-promotion. If you appreciate my content and all these things I do for free and you want to support it, you can do that over on Ko-Fi. I just dropped a link to my Ko-Fi. If you become part of the HackSmarter Learning Plan, you'll get access to all my courses without having to pay anything additional. And if you join the HackSmarter Support Plan, you'll get early beta access to my course, including this AWS course that will be ready for early access next week. So you'll get access next week. And our most recent member is SyncLogic from watching the live stream. SyncLogic, thank you again for your support. I really do appreciate it. And now we're going to find somebody to raid. If you don't know raid phraseology or terms, we find another viewer on Twitch to send all of our viewers to. I have about 70 people watching on the 3 different platforms, but only about 25 on Twitch. So if you guys can do me a favor and all come join on Twitch, I would appreciate it. I'm going to drop a link to the Twitch in the chat. So even if you don't have a Twitch account, you can still come watch and be part of the raid. Let me throw my headphones on and we'll see if we can find anyone who is streaming right now. Oh, we have a few different people. Okay, cool. Oh, we got Jex streaming over from Hack the Box. Let's go ahead and raid Jex. He's a super cool dude. He works at Hack the Box, but also streams on his own at night. Genuinely nice guy. Let me get this set up real quick, and we'll set up the raid. The raid phraseology, the raid phrase, when you do a raid on Twitch and we all show up in their chat, you're supposed to have a raid phrase. Our raid phrase is going to be Hack Smarter. not harder. So as soon as we raid, everyone spam chat. Hack smarter, not harder. Hack smarter, not harder. I'm going to set up this raid, and then I will sign off. But I'll hang out with you guys in the raid for a little bit while I upload videos and do subtitles and all that fun stuff. But come join the raid. Hack smarter, not harder. I'll see you guys over there. Thank you again for all of you taking the time to hang out with me. Same place.